Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax, and let's chat about what is happening up in the stars above. For those of you who are new, and I've been noticing that there's a lot of you that are new, my name is Janet Hickox, and I'm an astrologer, human design consultant, and a Gene Keys ambassador. And altogether, I am doing something called dimensional astrology, where I pull together all the pieces from the different disciplines, and I show you in many different dimensions. So that gives you just a quick rundown on who I am, and thank you for joining us if you are new. And for all of you who join me every morning, welcome, welcome. I see the two Debbies, Debbie Hedden and Debbie Tibbetts-Tumiel. Good morning. Rebecca, good morning to you. Great to see you ladies already, my early people. And Alisa has joined us. Great to see you as well. I have so much going through my head this morning. I mean, literally, I had to have a conversation with my husband this morning, and that took time away from preparing for the day. And I mean, nothing bad. So, I mean, don't go there. It wasn't anything bad. I just have a lot on my mind. And on top of that, let's just add a very healthy dose of dreams and having to try to figure out the symbology of what is happening in these dreams, right? Yesterday, I told you about the white wolf that was trying to get my granddaughter, and I'm protecting her from that wolf. And last night, it was about the most odd set of circumstances, like a lake, a giant lake, and this one small path about this wide, 6 inches wide maybe, that took us from the land on one side of the lake to like an island or land on the other side. And I would get back and forth on that strip of land, just this little wee bit of land via, I don't know if I was on a motorcycle or a bicycle. I was on something that moved fast that was able to stay within those 6 inches, likely a bicycle. I didn't hear motors, so likely a bike. And we would do this every day, and I don't know who we are. It felt like I was carrying a lot of different people with me. Like, were they on my back or what? I don't know. And one day, at the end of the dream, that pathway got inundated. Maybe a lot of rain or something, and it was flooded, and the water got deeper and deeper till finally whatever I was riding on or driving on was gone, and all I could do was swim. And I do know how to swim, so I wasn't particularly panicked. I was just sort of, I don't like deep water. I realized in this dream, I'm like, I don't like this depth. It's scary. And what's under that water? What is in that water? And I reached out and I could feel what were like the top of a bridge or something. You know how we have a lot of rivers here in Washington, and across those rivers are bridges that have these high arches. And I could feel the high arch of this bridge that I didn't even know was there, but it helped guide me to where I needed to be on the other end of this lake. And I got out of the water and up onto the other side. And when I was on the other side, I realized I can't get back, right? I lost my bicycle or whatever it was I was riding. And I was like, now what? Right? So I'm thinking to myself that there is some kind of message going on here. I don't know what that message is, and I'm wondering, like, are you guys experiencing these weird dreams? I don't know. Typically, maybe it is something that sort of happens when the moon gets into Scorpio, or at this moment, we have the sun now in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio, Venus still in Scorpio, and, perhaps there's that depth, right? What is it that I'm afraid to go into? Where, what's below the surface that I have not yet really looked at. And I could tell you I was in fear in the dream of what was under the water, what was in the water. I didn't feel threatened, but it was almost like that, I just don't want to know. I don't want to know. Don't show me kind of energy. So obviously a fear, something going on in my own life, in my own world that I need to address. And it's so interesting that we've been talking this week about rewriting these things that are beliefs, about really looking at where are we stuck, where are we holding ourselves back, what are we in fear of, what is limiting us, what is holding us to this box that we can't get out of, and then asking, the questions about, well, what am I willing to do? Where am I willing to go? And am I willing, apparently, to go into that deep water, to feel a little bit inundated for a while before I find the land at the other end and am able to crawl out. And once I see I'm on that other end, I can't go back. I don't know if that's a metaphor for, moving forward and you can't go back, right? Or what, but it was certainly interesting. So anyway, I just curious if you guys are experiencing anything like that. Let me know. Weird, Elisa says no weird dreams, but crazy emotions. Well, that's important too. What are those crazy emotions? Are you up and down? Are you angry and crying and then happy and joyful? I mean, I went to bed last night and something my husband said just tickled me, and I cracked up for like 15 minutes. I couldn't stop laughing. You know, those deep down belly laughs? I was I was laughing so hard that I had tears streaming down my face, and I thought, oh my, you're not going to go to sleep now because you've just been laughing so hard. So yeah, emotions too, right? They tell us what's going on within us. Sometimes that kind of belly laughter or even crying or anger is a release of pent up emotions, right? Things that we're holding on to, things that we don't necessarily want to let go of. Or like in my case, I didn't know what was under that water. I still don't know what's in that depth, what it is that I was literally afraid of, right? I had a handrail. I had a grasp of something. I wasn't drowning. I know how to swim. But still there was fear of that void, of that depth, of what lurks beneath the surface. That, I guess, is the biggest thing. It's the same reason, it's the same thing that stops me from going deep swimming sometimes in the water of the ocean, right? Because I don't know what's under there, what fish or what, right? What is there? And that could be a metaphor also then for what's going on in your own life. Where are you afraid to go into the deep? Marjorie, interesting. Both my last dreams, I could clearly see them, but I specifically mentioned to someone in my dreams, are my eyes closed? Interesting, right? Are my eyes closed? What would happen if I opened them? What would I see? What would I see if I opened my eyes? Things that make you go, And of course, this is that time of year for us to do these deep dives, to do these questions and to look deeper, look deep into the soul. This is soul work, right? It's not just Janet physical world work, or Marjorie physical world, or Lisa emotional world. This is deep soul work that we're doing. And I believe it's all coming up because we're on a launching pad to moving forward, right? To moving into a different paradigm. And, the world seemingly crashing around us, and old systems and ways of being and ways of doing things crashing around us. And it does leave us a little, disconcerted, let's say. So maybe it is showing up in our dreams. And what is it that we need to work through to get on the other side of all of that? So if you're just joining us, good morning. I haven't really launched too much into the astrology yet. I was sharing a dream, finding out if other people are having weird dreams or weird things going on in their lives. Just because then it makes, us all feel like, yay, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that's, floundering in this deep water or in the water of these emotions, etc., or having wolves chase us in the night or what have you, right? So anyway, okay, let's talk about what is happening up in the sky today. I really don't have a lot, but, every time I think that, then I end up on a discussion. And I want to share with you something that jumped into my awareness yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, and I just haven't had the time to bring it up. And maybe today will be that day where I can bring this up to you. But let's start with the moon, because the moon today is now in Virgo. It will be in Virgo all day. We are not dealing with a void, of course. We have the energy of Virgo with the moon, and it will be in a trine to Saturn, an opposition to Neptune, a sextile to Venus, and a trine to Pluto. All in all, with the exception of the opposition to Neptune, those are all pretty good energies, right? We're flowing. The moon is doing really well in a flow. Now, I want to also point out that opposition to Neptune is not necessarily a difficult, it's not necessarily a difficult transit. A lot of times oppositions feel like you're being pulled in two different directions, But an opposition of the moon, your soul, your emotions, and Neptune, your spirit and the etherical world, they're not necessarily at odds with one another. That opposition may be you're just experiencing either some kind of spiritual awakening or some kind of spiritual event, or on the other hand, perhaps something coming up from deep within your soul, or something that you have an emotional connection to or an emotional reaction to. And remember, right now, we're trying to learn about how to respond as opposed to be reactive, right? If we react, it comes from a place of fear, right? Or it comes from a place of being irresponsible, where if we just pause for that moment, even just taking a deep breath, and then responding to whatever it is that shows up in your world, then these two planetary energies could be working pretty well together. But it shows us that both are up in the field. Neptune in Pisces is in an emotional, compassionate, idealistic sort of position, while the moon in Virgo is more practical. So we have to be grounded in the physical, it would seem, as well as anchored with our spiritual self as well. That can be a challenge, right? That can be a challenge when we're so faced with our everyday worldliness and the things that we have to do, this physical world that we're in. We could totally forget that we're connected to spirit. So maybe that's what that's about today, learning how to be connected, but also grounded at the same time. So now let's take a look at what does the moon in Virgo represent. I know for Mimi and I, we both have the moon in Virgo by birth, so this is a good time for us as we end up sort of in our new moon time, right? The new moon in Virgo, I'm not talking about the literal new moon, I'm talking about the personal moon in your chart, and every time the moon passes over your natal placement of your moon, it acts as sort of a door opener, sort of like that new moon, right? Where new possibilities come up, etc. So when the moon is in Virgo, we're dealing with our working life, our everyday life, our working with coworkers, with the people that are in our environment around work, our daily rhythm, right? The things we do. We get up in the morning, we go brush our teeth, we wash our faces, we go eat breakfast, etc. We get our handy dandy cup of pumpkin spice coffees, and we go on with our day. I come on here at 8 o'clock, and then after that, I produce my videos and blah, 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 right? So the rhythm and the in-breath and the out-breath of our life is ruled by Virgo. Also the to-do list, right? The things that we have to do today. And how do we work with that to-do list? Is it organized and practical? Is it willy-nilly? Do we not even deal with a to-do list? Is it a list that just keeps getting longer by the minute and you never get done? So all of these things are up in our faces right now and should be dealt with in a very practical manner. Now, Virgo energy also, the moon in Virgo specifically, rules the health of the body, the physical body. And it brings up things like exercise. Are you getting enough movement in your life? Are you moving those muscles, or are you locked into a position of sitting at your desk all day doing work? Your healthy habits, right? Are you trying to break a habit of some kind, or are you trying to instill healthy eating patterns or routines that are healthy for you? Like, are you getting, have you put a value on exercise and eating right so that it becomes a natural part of your day-to-day world? And then also, the moon in Virgo brings up alternative healing, right? Virgo is a sign that likes purity. It is close to the land. It is close to the earth, and it simplifies life, right? Virgo likes the idea of simplification, and it has a resonance to that purifying of your environment, but also of your body, the temple of your body, and the use of the simplest way to get there. And frankly, the medical system is vast and sometimes not necessarily thinking about you as an individual, where alternative healing sees you as an individual and treats you holistically, which is another key word for the moon in Virgo, holistic. And that also takes in alternative healing and healers. I'm not bashing, by the way, the regular healing system, the medical system, Western medicine. But sometimes Western medicine has gotten a little bit, short-sighted and not seeing the whole of the body. They're throwing things at symptoms to alleviate your symptoms to make you feel better, and not necessarily looking at the underlying cause for all of these things. That might be in the spiritual realm, could be in the emotional realm, could be in the mental realm, or could be in the physical realm, right? So in Virgo, we look at things holistically. Another key word for the moon in Virgo is about organization, seeing the details, right? Seeing through to the nitty-gritty, not just the big picture, but seeing the details, right? Looking at the details. The devil is in the details. But sometimes that Virgo energy can get too detailed, right? If you can't see the forest for the trees, you're also in a world of hurt. But sometimes with Jupiter, especially in Sagittarius, where we're looking at this big picture, and sometimes we can see the big picture, but we can't see the details. Well, today and for the next day or two, we have the devil in the details. Look in the details. It gives us access to organizing energy. And I'll tell you, if you could look from behind me at my desk, you would say, Janet, damn, what's been going on at your desk? Because things are everywhere. So today's my opportunity to go, kind of organize my desk and get my things back in order here. It's a great day for cleaning, or getting the dust bunnies out from under the bed. It's a great day for efficiency, right? Doing things efficiently. Feng Shui also falls really powerfully into Virgo energy. So, looking at the energy flow of your home, and is it in a smooth flow, or have you blocked yourself off somehow? Getting your day planner, right? How many times, I don't know how many times I've done this, where I'm looking at my calendar 10 times on my online calendar going, okay, what's next? What's next? Instead of printing it off and holding it in front of me and having it, a printed copy, old school copy of it right in front of me. So, thinking about your day planner and how do you plan your day? How do you utilize your time? Is it efficient, or are you wasting a lot of time? So wasting time, utilizing your time better, utilizing your space better, all things that we can focus on while the moon is in Virgo. Virgo also rules discernment. And with discernment comes critical thinking and that analysis kind of energy, to be able to stand back objectively and look into something to see what is going on. Discernment means that you're not easily having someone pull one over on you, right? You're not. I think one of the weakest things that I find with Virgo is gullibility, right? Someone tells you something and you believe it, you're all in and you go for it, and then later you're like, what? So gullibility. And the way out of gullibility is to use your discernment, right? Is what the other person telling you true? Do your due diligence in going through and finding the information yourself. Go on a hunt, find the truth. So Virgo energy, discerning, calm in a crisis. Calm in a crisis energy. Virgo is really good at this, right? Everything goes to hell in a handbasket, and they get down to business, right? They cut right through all that emotional BS, and they get to what needs to be done. We've got to get a bandage on that wound, right? We need to get 911 called and get them here, or we need to turn the gas off if you've had an earthquake, etc. So planning out the steps to getting something done is also a part of the Virgo experience. So here are some things to watch out for. Anxiety. Anxiety that is created by overthinking, too much in the head. Interestingly enough, Mercury also rules Virgo, right? Virgo, we know it's the Virgo, or we know that Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. It makes perfect sense to me that Mercury would be the ruler of that sign, communication and socializing and networking and all of that. It's not so clear to me why it is that Mercury rules Virgo, but in terms of the mind and the mind's sort of tendency to overthink when the moon is in Virgo, or when you have Mercury, for example, in Virgo, is something that we really want to watch out for. Because if your mind runs away with you and you start thinking about all of the things that shoulda, coulda, woulda, or things that opportunities. For example, I was faced yesterday with an opportunity, and it's huge, and it's exciting, and I'm really excited about it. And yet I knew, big decision, it would have to run through my emotional wave, and I caught myself in this mode of overthinking it, right? I started thinking about all the reasons why, all the reasons why not, and then all the reasons why not again, and all the reasons why I should, why I shouldn't, until literally I felt like my head was going to explode. That is overthinking, right? Overthinking, and then it creates anxiety. And boy, did it create that anxiety in me. I just finally went, okay, I'm releasing this. Actually, do you know what I did? I said, follow your own advice. Write the story. How do you want this to end? How do you want this to be? How do you want to show up in it? So that is my task this morning after I'm done talking with you all and then getting this produced. So I'm going to write that story about this opportunity. And what does it mean? And how am I going to get there? Is all going to be just done, right? It's just going to be done because I'm really excited about this. So understanding that the energy, sometimes the negative expression in Virgo, calls us to be in our minds, analyzing and critically thinking ad nauseum. So we got to get out of our heads. There's also the blame game, the guilt game, the victim game, that in the negative end of Virgo, which pulls in from Pisces, right? Pisces can sometimes play the victim like no other, but so can Virgo, and they're opposite signs from one another. So we want to watch out for that, right? Are you being a victim? Are you blaming the universe or your upbringing or your financial situation or the people, your spouse or other people, other situations for where you find yourself right now? And in that blame, are you finding yourself succumbing to victimhood? That's so last century, right? We're done with that. So moving out of that. And the guilt and the shame and all of that, also a negative expression of that Virgo Pisces axis. So we want to watch out for that. Okay, so that's the skinny on the moon moving through Virgo. Marissa, good morning. Christine Erickson, good morning. Kathy, good morning. And Debbie Hedden says, it's getting easier for me to understand my relationship with the moon and my human design, but still a challenge. Of course it is. You're a reflector, my dear. That means the only way that you can see yourself clearly is, one, through other people, or two, through the moon and its transits on a monthly basis, right? The moon consistently, Debbie, is connecting to specific gates every month, every day of every month. This is why we say that often reflectors need 28 days or 28 and a half days, the full cycle of a moon, in order to make good decisions, because they have to be able to see the reflection through the moon as it hits every one of the gates. So for example, Debbie, and anybody else who's out there that's a reflector that I just don't realize you're a reflector. For example, today's the 24th. The moon is going to be moving through three gates today. The gate 40, the gate 64, and the gate 47. Well, the gate 40 is a gate of loneliness and isolation, right? It's a difficult gate. And if you already have that one defined, then you're already aware that sometimes you feel like a part of a group, but you're not a part of the group, right? You're separated outside of the group, and that isolation and that loneliness is meant to be cherished and loved, but not necessarily something that you are feeling. So it's lonely, but not loneliness. I hope that makes sense, right? Your love of being alone and being your own person, your own guide, and yet without feeling lonely or isolated. The next two gates that the moon are going to go through today are on the head and the ajna. The gate 64, which is the gate of confusion, and the gate 47, which is the gate of epiphany. So for you today, then, the moon is maybe going to help you solve some problems, solve an issue. Maybe it's going to help you see the light, like the light bulb turning on. So that would be great. Or the alternative to those for you, Debbie, today might be stinking thinking, right? Where you got so confused and now you got into the overthinking and the overanalyzing, and now it becomes that stinking thinking. You can't pull yourself out of that thinking pattern. So that's how the moon plays out for you. Every day the moon is hitting anywhere from, I think it's, some days it's 2, I don't think it's ever hit more than 3 in a day. 2 to 3 gates in a day. That would be about the right pattern for it. And by the way, you, Debbie, could get this book. This is the 2019 version. I just got my 2020 version of the Pocket Ephemeris. And inside on this page here, it tells you all the gates by day that the moon will be sitting at. And that, along with your own natal human design chart, will help you see what it is that you're experiencing and will it be effective or not. Does it complete a channel, right? Sometimes the moon, you might have a hanging gate and the moon is passing by the other end and it makes the channel complete. And now you can get things done where you couldn't get it done before. So a reflector should be very, 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 you're a moon child. You should be very aware of the moon and its effects on you. Okay, but yet reflectors make up less than 1% of the population. So there's not a lot of you out there. So likely there's not a lot of people that focus a lot of energy on reflectors. So, you know, it's something that you have to go looking for that information probably. Okay, Kathy Miller, I do planner every day on paper, then cross it off as done, feeling accomplished. Awesome. Amy Moore says, yes, I'm a big overthinker, Gemini stellium and Virgo rising. Oh my goodness. Yes, you are. And the tendency to overthink. So what you have to do likely is understand, for one thing, you're never going to get stopped that thinking. There's no way, right? You're never going to really completely be able to shut off that monkey mind. So what you have to do is learn to not pay much attention to it. Just know it's a process that you go through of thinking, but that when it comes down to it, your decision making isn't coming from your mind. It's coming from wherever the authority is in your human design. It might be emotional. It might be sacral. It might be intuitive. It might be your willpower. It's different for everybody. Debbie Hedden, being a Gemini makes me crazy sometimes. Trust me, I totally get that. Amy says, oh man, playing the victim, I can do that too. Did I mention I also have a Pisces stellium? Yay. So we're speaking your language today, Amy, and you can totally move through this. Always good advice. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, I need the book. The website that you can get this from is humandesignsystem.com. humandesignsystem.com. And when you get to the website, go, I think it says books or resources. I can't remember which. If you click on that, it'll take you down to the books and the things that are available. And it looks like this, only it says 2020. In fact, I already have mine. And it's the identical book, right? The cover's the same and everything. It just says 2020 Pocket Ephemeris. So there's that. I've hardly looked at that one yet because, you know, there's still a chunk of this year I need to work with. All right, so thank you guys for the comments. I love that. Keep commenting, keep questioning. Now I'm going to dive into something that I noticed today. Actually, no, I noticed this a couple days ago and I realized I hadn't talked to you about it yet. I pulled a chart and I was looking at the chart and I was thinking about all of the different feminine archetypes that are, you know, in our field now and have been since likely the early 2000s, right? 2005, 2004, when Hubble telescope was really, you know, getting to the outer reaches of our solar system, and we were finding new bodies, right? New asteroids or planetoids or dwarf planets, whatever the astronomers want to call these bodies, but they were bodies that were entering into the conversation from an astrological point of view, right? Every time a new body is discovered and then it gets named, its archetypal energy begins to seed itself in our awareness, in our consciousness, in our collective. And what I noticed happening, and a lot of other astrologers noticed this happening too, is that every new body that was being discovered was being given a feminine archetype, right? It was being given a feminine mythic figure that it represented, the wife of a god, the consort of a god, but the feminine, all these new bodies were being named feminine planets, or the feminine archetype energy was being pulled in. So I happen to be looking, I've been adding those as I find more that I want to look at, I add them to my charts. So the chart, of course, is starting to look a mess because I've got so many different things on there. So right now I have Sedna, I have Eris, I have Salacia, I have the Black Moon Lilith, I have Ceres, I have Pallas Athena, Venus, of course, and the Moon, of course, and Selena. So I have quite a number of the feminine archetypes in here. And I looked at, the Moon and Venus were already there, but they were the only two that were relegated to the feminine before, these new bodies began to be discovered. So I was looking at them the other day and I realized that, 4 out of the 6 are experiencing an inconjunct right now. The basis of a yod is an inconjunct. So they're not necessarily in yod formation, but they are in inconjuncts with other planets. And an inconjunct is a 150-degree angle between the planets. So for example, Sedna is at 27 degrees of Taurus right now. And Taurus is an earth sign, right? It's a fixed earth sign. So it likes to stay where it is. It doesn't necessarily, it takes a lot of energy to move a Taurus off its path. They like that staying power, right? So Sedna representing the immature feminine, right? The immature feminine. We'll talk about these things deeper at some point in time. But right now, I just wanted to point out that she is in an inconjunct with the galactic center, which is not necessarily a masculine or feminine entity. It's more a point that we look to at the center of the universe, but it's called a void, right? It's called a void. So is the galactic center then a source of the feminine power, right? Because the feminine power is in the void, in the deep, in the womb, right? In the unseen. And the galactic center, even though it's a point that I could tell you it's right there, the Sagittarius arrow points right at it, it's literally an unseen. It's an unknown. It's a black hole, right? A black hole sort of sounds like a void, right? Kind of sounds like the deep ocean. Kind of sounds like the womb, right? So there's an inconjunct there. So the energies of Taurus and the energies of the sign Sagittarius are not compatible. They don't have any common ground with which they work on. So in order to make Sedna's energy be able to be interpreted through the galactic center, or the galactic center's information to be interpreted through the sign or through the body Sedna, we have to do something. We have to be able to adjust our energies. We have to be able to adjust our thoughts, our actions. We have to sacrifice something. And in this case, Sagittarius is masculine fire, and Taurus is feminine earth. And fire scorches earth, right? There's that fire energy that scorches earth. Just ask Southern California, Northern California. They're in the process of being scorched, their annual fire time. And so what is it that we have to let go of now in order to hear more clearly what's coming from the void? What do we have to let go of? Our stuck old patterns, perhaps, right? Sedna is an Inuit goddess, and it represents two things. One, the clinginess of a young person not wanting to leave the home and the family, right? Sort of the failure to launch kind of energy. And on the other end, it is also the parents that don't want to let go of the child and let them, that mothering kind of thing. So we have this immaturity in how we grow up, right? And so Sedna really is sort of the representation of what it is that we need to do in order to launch out into the world, to launch the divine feminine. For the feminine to really rise up and meet the masculine, what has to happen? What do we have to sacrifice? What do we have to let go of? So that's a great contemplation for us right now to really take a look at what does that mean. And, I just had a super idea. Let me take a look at where's 27 Taurus. 27 Taurus is likely going to be, is it going to be the gate 2? That would be fascinating if it is. 27 Taurus. Nope, it's not that one. What comes after 27 Taurus? Or gate 27 would be gate 24. Oh, that would be interesting too. We'd have to let go of rational thinking. Wrong way. That's going to be Gemini. How about gate 8? I should just know these things, but there's 360 degrees in the zodiac. Here we go. So it's the gate 8. So what I'm using right now is the Book of Lines, the Ketan Parkin book, where I can look at all of the degrees of the zodiac and find what gate that means. So Sedna in the gate 8. So co-creation, right? It's about co-creation. And it's realized by our making a contribution, our own personal contribution to the world. So I think what we see then is the potential here in this particular inconjunct to let go of the old way that we think the world works and moving into really expressing our gifts, our talents in the world. Forget all of the blah, blah, blah that the world would tell you that you have to do in order to be successful or to make money or to, feel fulfilled. Do your thing. Do you. Launch. Launch yourself. Okay, so there's that yod, or that inconjunct. And if you guys have questions about, let me know. Amy, I find these feminine moons so intriguing. I do too. And it's not just because I'm a female, I'm sure that's a part of it, but I'm really intrigued by this because we know from history that, there is this big shift that's happening, and it's not a shift where the matriarchy is overcoming patriarchy. It is a shift to balance these big archetypal energies so that they're operating in their appropriate fields, right? That the feminine isn't being overrun by the masculine, but nor is the feminine trying to overcome the masculine. So that they're in balance and harmony would suggest that everybody's in their right and perfect place, doing, what's right for them. And that the energies of the feminine are being honored as equally as the energies of the masculine, not one overcoming the other, I guess. We're not trying to get rid of the masculine, but the masculine did get rid of the feminine, right? Right now, the feminine is just coming back up at where it should be in its rightful place, right next to the masculine in equality, in equilibrium. All right, so Donna Roloff, good morning. She said, yes, I'm so tired of back-end website issues. Any new remedies not working? Don't know what to do anymore. And added to that, Donna, is Mercury in the shadow of its retrograde beginning on the 31st in Scorpio, which rules the back end of everything or the underside of everything. So luckily, you'll have some time maybe to be able to get to the depth there and figure out what's going on in the behind the scenes. It's not fun, I would say. It's definitely not fun, and it's frustrating. So maybe reach out and see if there's someone that can help you with that. Okay, let's look at another goddess that is in an inconjunct with another goddess. So we have the goddess Eris. She represents discord. Remember, she was the person from a sense of revenge because she wasn't invited to the wedding of Paris and Helen. She throws out the golden apple, and the goddesses all begin fighting over it. And it is the superficial, discordant energies of women who are pushed to the margins, right? So she represents the, come back here, girls, come back here, right? We're not just interested in beauty and the superficial. There's a part of us that really needs to look deeper, that needs to go on a path of redemption, of resurgence, and of really reclaiming our position, our place, right? And she is in an inconjunct to Pallas Athena, who's in a conjunction to Mercury, who's also very close to a conjunction to Venus. So there's this little trio going on here in the sign of Scorpio that is not very in favor with Eris, which is in Aries, right? Eris, the feminine goddess of discord, is in the sign of Aries, ruled by Mars, the very epitome of masculine, right? Of masculinity. And then Pallas Athena is sitting in Scorpio, which is technically a feminine sign. It's the deep, it's the womb, it's the underbelly, it's the seedier side of things. It is looking into that deep, going through that void, right? Really adjusting to the dark and being okay to be in the dark. And Eris, on the other side, throwing out those apples, right? Like the Me Too movement, or the exposing of men and the things that they've been doing to in the realm of the divine feminine. It is also the women that go out there and claim these things that didn't really happen, that undermine our whole effort, and the adjusting, the constant adjusting that we have to do in order to really claim our authentic power, right? Remember, Pallas Athena was born fully formed from her father's head, from the head of Zeus. And she was born with the wisdom of a mighty goddess and the warrior instincts of a goddess. And what would a goddess be a warrior for? Children, values, food, clothing, taking care of, education. All of the feminine values that we have are being represented right now by Pallas Athena. And Pallas Athena sitting right there with Mercury. Mercury today is in a gate of prosperity and has just come out of the gate of breakthrough. So we are anticipating then that Pallas Athena will be creating some breakthroughs for us, but we're going to have to merge those energies of Aries and Scorpio in some way, right? Aries is youthful. It is youthful folly at times, right? Those mistakes that we make, those things that we do, those Mars actions that we take out of reaction. I would say Aries represents reaction energy. And how do we meter that reaction energy versus the depth of wisdom that Pallas Athena is holding? In other words, I think what we see here in that inconjunct is the choosing the right battles. Choosing your battles wisely, right? And moving forward with wisdom, with authenticity, and letting go of the petty stuff, right? Letting go of the petty stuff. Now, I'm not suggesting that things like the Me Too movement are petty, but there are some petty things that go around with that. And how are we going to be able to go ahead and move forward if we don't let go of those petty things and hold ourselves to the higher version of what we could be as the divine feminine, right? I'm not talking specifically to women. This is also about men, but because we're talking an archetypal energy, right? The archetype of the divine feminine. Now we also have an inconjunct forming today with the sun, the embodiment of identity and personality and what you're good at and what you're here to do in the sign of Scorpio. Remember, the sun moved into Scorpio yesterday, so now we have another dose of depth. Identifying with the deep, identifying with the divine feminine, identifying with the womb, which is the seat of creation, right? The seed of creation lies in the womb, ready to be grown and nurtured and then birthed into the world. So we are in the seeding of the divine feminine, and we're birthing the archetype of the divine feminine through the sun, through Venus, through Pallas Athena, through Mercury, and eventually, in the next couple of weeks, Mars in the sign of Scorpio. And again, what do we have to let go of? Well, we're again dealing with Salacia and Chiron in a conjunction in Aries, self-sufficiency, right? Interdependence. You cannot have one without the other, right? You can't just have a world full of women, of feminine energy. You've got to have both. There's a place for both. Your human design shows you that, right? Remember, I always show you your human design chart where one half over here is about the feminine and the other side over here is about the divine masculine. And right now, who's defined is the divine feminine, right? The divine feminine with values and nurturing. The values of the tribe or the community, the nation, the country, the world, and nurturing those values, nurturing the weakest links, nurturing our children, feeding the world, caring for the world from the divine feminine, right? So what are we letting go of? Well, we have to let go, I think, of that he said, she said, of the energy of polarization between masculine and feminine. I believe that's what these inconjuncts are really telling us. If you want to claim your power, you have to let go of feeling powerless in the face of the other. Does that make sense to everybody? You have to, if you want to be empowered, you have to let go of your attachment to being powerless by feeling powerless in the face of the other. So masculine can't continue to be threatened by the feminine can't continue to be threatened by the masculine, because neither one is empowered in that instance. So what can we let go of? What can we adjust? What can we sacrifice in order to move forward and really claim that divine feminine archetype? And these goddesses are helping us find that way. Donna is feeling like a scorched Taurus. I get it. I totally get that. Amy, I need some water energy. I send some water energy your way. That's great. Amy's feeling the divine feminine energy a lot. I am too. I totally feel like talking about that every day. And she says, let go of insecurity, quit projecting. Yes, there's that too. All right. So questions, comments, write them out. Let me know what you're thinking and feeling. And the last thing I have for us this morning is a human design aspect that is starting today, where Mercury has moved out of the gate 43 and into now the gate 14. Let me show you on your human design where the gate 14 is. It sits right here. Gate 14 is a gate of abundance, a gate of money, a gate of making money. Literally, it is a gate of prosperity. I pulled out my book this morning and I looked it up. Here's the symbol from the hexagram and the I Ching. Here's the Chinese symbol for it. Prosperity. I love that, right? Prosperity, it says harvesting. There is a knack to learning to embody a genuine ease in situations involving resources of property, wealth, and affluence. And the clarity of personal commitment, inner strength, detachment, and perseverance ensures great transformation and empowerment. Now, if we look at this through the gene keys, we get some really wonderful words here. In the lowest expression, it's compromise. And compromise is not, it's not like compromise when you're working together with a group. Like if the Democrats and the Republicans could ever work together, if the men and women could ever really work together, the great masculine and the great feminine, and they could compromise, they could adjust and sacrifice, those are different kinds of compromise. This is the kind of compromise where you let go of something essentially you in order to fit in order to feel like you belong. So for example, if you knew right from birth that you were definitely not of a religious inkling, that you were really very spiritual or metaphysical, but through your life you learned that if you didn't go to church or you didn't participate in the church, you were isolated or you didn't belong, then you have compromised your own thoughts or your own beingness. And as you get older, then you right that ship, hopefully, right? You move out of that shadow of compromise and into the gift of competence. I can make my own decisions. I know my own mind. I know what's right for me. That is competence. But up at the acidic end, the acidity, it's the highest expression of the energy in this hologram, is bounteousness. You gotta love that word, bounteousness, right? It's all there for us. It's bounty, right? Bounty. Not the quicker picker upper bounty, but bounty. That really is demonstrative of abundance, of wealth, of having it all, right? It's all there in your fingertips. And it begins when a planet moves into a gate. It starts in the first line. So the first line of the hexagram, there are 6 lines. And the energy is modified a bit each line it moves into. So in the line 1, which is where it is today, this is Mercury, it's finding satisfaction, examining closely what it is that really motivates you, and a dependence on anything outside of you to make you happy will be found to be misplaced. And guess what? Mercury at this gate has a specific meaning, which is attempting to control the flow of resources in life requires you to have great trust, right? Trust. Trusting in something, that abundance is yours, that it's there, that wealth is so much more than just the money in your pocket. And so I have so much on my desk, I don't even know where to put that. All right. And I think what you're going to see here is that there's some really good syncing here with Mercury moving into this gate of bounteousness with the Pleiadian-Earth energy today, which is 6 self-regulating. 6 is the universal energy of flow. So those of you who are new and you haven't heard us talk much about the Pleiadian-Earth energy, it is based on a calendar that the Pleiadians likely seeded here on the planet with the Maya way back 5,000 years ago, and have reconstructed for us now in these days for us to have an alternative way to view time. Instead of viewing time as this linear construct, we view time through this calendar in a spiral. Right, in a spiral, and every top of the spiral, when we get to the 13th day, that sacred number 13, we ascend to the next level and we start that transit again, right? Another 13 days. And those are universal energies. If we were living on Mars, we would be resonant with that energy. Today's universal energy is 6, which represents flow, right? The flow of abundance, the flow of life on the planet, the in-breath and the out-breath, the whole idea of the flow. Breathing isn't just one way, it's two-way, right? It's a flow. It's a great day for traveling. It's a great day for movement on any level. That's the universal part of the day. Now, the earth energy of the day is self-regulating. And that is in the Mayan calendar, you might remember it is Etznob, which is the obsidian knife. The obsidian knife whose very sharp edges can go in and cut the heart out of something, who can just get into the depth and get to the point and dig out that which no longer serves you and excise it, right? Leaving space to be filled with what is true, with what is right, which is true for you. Self-regulating, right? Self-regulating energy. And I know because we have some new people, I'm going to show this calendar one more time. This is at the back of the calendar. You get the little description of the days and of the universal energies. But here's the calendar, the Pleiadian-Earth energy calendar. This is 2019. I already have my 2021. And it's available for you now. And it is written by Pia Orlean and Colin Baird Smith. They actually created this with the help of a group that they channel from the Pleiadian star system called Larkma. And I'm not real big on channeled groups from other planets. That's one of my things that I usually balk at when I see it, because it doesn't it just sometimes it seems so fake. But this is one that the coherence of this, the source of this, the people, the integrity of the people who are bringing this in, they're unquestionably in integrity. And so I really trust this information. So I bring it to you in the spirit of that. And it is so interesting to me how these Pleiadian-Earth energy days tend to mirror what's going on astrologically if we look at it through a different lens, right? Sometimes we need to look at it through the gene keys. Sometimes we look at it through human design. Sometimes we're looking at it through astrology. Sometimes we're looking at it dimensionally. We're looking at it from all sides. And that is why I call this dimensional astrology, because it really is more than just one dimension. When we are looking today at the other energies in your human design, Venus also making a move today into the gate 43. The gate 43 is up here at the point of the Ajna, the second center down here. This is the center for thought, of data, of learning, of certainty, of the energy of memory, comparing and contrasting, all those things, those functions that we think of as the brain doing, recalling, memory, etc., comes through the Ajna. This point of the Ajna, gate 43, is where you have a breakthrough of your genius out into the world. And sharing your genius with the world is something that requires almost an invitation, right? If you just go out and blurt some of the things that you see out in the world that you know to be true for you, some people may not hear you, right? They don't hear you. If you have a message that you're really wanting to get to the world, you want to make sure that they're primed and ready to hear your message, right? And you do that via an invitation. That's something maybe we can talk about on another day, but just know that this is about aligning your breakthroughs, your genius in the right time, in the right place with the right people, and not spilling the beans to the wrong group and then them undermining you. So the breakthrough energy here is pretty much yours. It is you finding and then tapping into your personal genius and then waiting for the right time to express it to the world in the right way to the right people. So it's an interesting time as these planets, Mercury was just there at gate 43. Now Venus is, the sun will eventually get there. So we have a parade of planets going to come through, both the gate 14, bounteousness, and also the gate 43, which is the gate of that epiphany, that breakthrough of your personal genius out into the world. So, interesting day we have here. Just some interesting things to think about. I want to look deeper maybe at these goddesses. Oh, I also wanted to bring up one other goddess relationship, and it's not an in conjunct this time. It's not where we need to sacrifice or adjust our archetypal energy or our interaction with that archetypal energy. It is a conjunction, and it's a conjunction of, it's a blending of the energies of the mother goddess Ceres and Jupiter. So Jupiter representing growth and expansion, and how we are optimistic about the future, and how we are prospering and bringing things out in a big way. But Ceres, as the goddess that brings us prosperity or brings us plenty, also goes through her seasonal change from, the bounty of spring and summer into the death and decay of the fall and the winter, and then reborn again in the spring. So it brings us into timing, right timing. And also Ceres represents our connection to the food, to our growing of the food, agriculture. She is often seen with the sheaf of wheat. And in that, she's, representing that bounty that comes from the earth. And in Sagittarius, then there's plenty. And she next moves. She's also involved in the more constrictive energies of 2020, because she'll move into the sign of Capricorn. And it's funny because for those of you who were Game of Thrones fans, one of the big themes in the Game of Thrones, in fact, the big theme, was winter is coming. Winter is coming, right? That was the whole thing from the very beginning, is winter will be coming. Winter is coming. Winter is here, right? That was the whole thing. And I see that in Ceres. Are we looking at winter, where things become more barren, where the the actions that we've taken in terms of how we've abused our planet come to roost, come home to roost, right? Karma coming home to roost. It'll be interesting to see what happens here in the next few weeks as that planet begins to move through Capricorn, and as we get into the early part of the year, when frankly we're going to have so many planets in Capricorn it makes you dizzy, right? It'll be Jupiter, Ceres, Saturn, Pluto, Mercury, and Venus, and then ultimately Mars will be there at some point too, but Mars is a bigger player in the year 2020. He's going to be creating all kinds of noise throughout the year. So it pays for us to very much pay attention right now to where we might need to be more conservative, more resourceful in our own personal lives, as that is really getting to be a bigger theme as we move on into the rest of this year. Not because of fear either, not out of fear, just as being wise, right? And being in the know. Good morning, Tracy. And Amy says, 6, my life path number. Wow, feeling like today is all about me. It's funny, that is my life path number too, 33-6. Funny. All right, that is it for me today. Tomorrow is Friday. Ha! Tomorrow is Friday, finally Friday, although it seems to get here faster and faster every week. And tomorrow we will be taking a look at what is coming up for the new moon, which will occur on Sunday. And this is a powerful new moon. It is the catalyst for much of what will be in 2020. It is just an interesting thing to see. And we'll talk about that tomorrow, as well as a look at the weekend. And if we have time, maybe we can get some card readings, oracle readings in for people. All right, that's it for me today, guys. Take care. Have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow morning. Bye for now.